Madam Clerk. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is our last meeting of 2020, and it'll be a year that will go down in history. Approval of the agenda. Is there any add-ons to the agenda here tonight? Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under new business, I would like to add a discussion on COVID-19 funding, as well talk about office holiday hours.
Thank you. Is there any other add-ons to our agenda here tonight? Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the permission of council, we would like to add a closed session discussion to our closed agenda this evening, specifically regarding a matter regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Thank you. So I see no more add-ons to our agenda here tonight. So I'll have a recommendation here that the approval be approved as amended. Someone to move the motion, please. Moved by Councilor Sullivan, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion? It is carried. Declaration of interest, you can declare anytime you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous meetings. First recommendation is that the minutes of the special council meeting held on November 30th, 2020 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Thompson, second by Councilor Pringle. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next one is that the minutes of the council meeting held on December 2nd, 2020 be approved. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Barfoot, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion? It is carried. We're down to announcements. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight we wanted to take the opportunity to recognize a few of our employees with long-term service awards. We have 4 employees tonight that we'd like to recognize, and normally this is done at our Christmas party, but due to COVID, we haven't had that this year. So it's a great opportunity, for council to see their faces and for all of us to show them our appreciation for their years of service. So the first person we're recognizing tonight is Shelley Willitton. So Shelley has been with the township for 5 years now. And as you all know, she is the treasury assistant, and she's the first face that all of our ratepayers get to see when they come into the office, or at least her eyes these days. So thank you, Shelley, for 5 years of service.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next recognition we're going to make is Crystal Gunn. So Crystal is our HR manager, and she has also been with the township for 5 years. Crystal, deals with any employment issues. Next, we have Jennifer Burnett. You all know she's our senior planner. She's been with the township for 10 years. And in my 6 years of knowing her, I've never seen anyone so excited about planning. So thank you, Jen, for your 10 years of service. Oh. And finally tonight with us, we have Peter Zarchick. He has been with the township for 15 years. So he is one of our facilities attendants at Shell Lake Arenas. And one of his passions for the township is dealing with our flower beds and keeping our parks beautiful. Thank you, Peter, for the last 15 years.
Thank you very much, and wishing you many good ones.
On behalf of council, myself, it's great to have such wonderful staff, and thank you. How about we give you a round of applause? Thank you very much. Moving on to the agenda, we're down to exciting news. We wait a long time to be able to do this. I would like to, great pleasure, announce 2 names here tonight. Our CAO, Al Menezes. And Al, would you take off your mask and so everybody can see what you look like? Oh, you are good. Anyway, Al, welcome to Georgian Buses. Real exciting to have you here. Our next is our Director of Operations, Steve Billmere. I know that Cassie is very excited to have you here because it takes a lot of pressure off her. But anyway, welcome to Georgia Bus. Thank you. Before I go on to the agenda, if I take this opportunity, if Council will allow me, I would first of all like to thank Cassandra Rocca for the great job she's done for the last 4 months. She's had many titles. I don't know what she's going to do about her time now, but she's now just a treasurer. And Cassie, thank you very much for all your help. And the other person I'd like to thank is our clerk. It's just totally amazing what she's been able to do through COVID and all this times we've been in. It's just amazing what you've done with you and your team. Thank you very much. On behalf of Council, I have a little something for you too.
Oh, thank you guys. Wow. This is so nice. Thank you so much. To not be emotional.
Anyway, it's just a pleasure having such a great team. Al, you got some great team members below you, and it's just been great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for them as well.
Okay, moving on with our agenda. Since it seems fairly long here tonight, we have no public hearings, no presentations, no delegations. Is there any item that any council member would like to withdraw from our consent agenda to have further discussion? Deputy Mayor Carlton?
I have a question about one of the accounts, but I don't know is, oh, sorry.
If you have a question, Deputy Mayor, we should pull it.
Okay, it's just a question about one line in the accounts that Cassie and I talked about earlier, so.
Okay, we'll pull it and then
Okay.
we have a discussion.
Okay.
And what item was that?
9.1.
9.1. Okay, I'm going to have a recommendation here then that the Council of Georgia Bus adopt a consent agenda for information as circulated less 9.1. If someone's moved to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Sullivan, second by Councilor Colburn. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, all in favor of the motion? Now, catch up. Items that are pulled from the consent agenda, 9.1. Deputy Mayor Carlton, go ahead.
The item that I was asking about is on page 8 of the finance report under emergency services. We budgeted $3,000, but we've currently spent $6,418.68. And what I wanted to know was that something that could be recovered under the COVID funding?
Cassie, you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. So that particular line pays for our CEMC. So Jim Kempster. A lot of other municipalities have that individual on staff. We do not. We contract that out. And my response to Deputy Mayor Carlton was that it is something I'd look into. The framework around what we can spend that COVID funding on hasn't been very well defined, but it's definitely something I'll look into.
Okay, does that answer your question, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, it does, thank you. It makes sense that Jim's been here for a lot more meetings this year, so it made sense when that was explained.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on for agenda. Excuse me, we're down to correspondence. We have correspondence here from Ashley Jackson, speed limit on Dawson Road. Does any staff member want to speak to this? It was, I thought, it was well put together. Cassie, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. So, yes, it is a great piece of correspondence, and what we're going to do is our new Director of Operations is going to look into the issue and report back to Council.
Okay, I assume that you do, okay. Thank you, Steve, your first job. Okay, if that's dealt with, we're moving on for agenda, then we're down to committee reports. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on December 9th, 2020 be adopted, including recommendation COW 2020-089 to COW 2020-091. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Thompson, second by Councilor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Madam Clerk, I'm totally confused.
So now we're at item 12.2, the Climate Action Committee. And for Council's consideration, there has been a recommendation prepared and included on the agenda. And that is on page 5.
Okay, now I'm caught up. Thank you. I have a recommendation here that Council hereby supports recommendation number CAC 2020-04 as approved by Climate Action Committee at their meeting on December 4th, 2020, and direct that a comprehensive energy audit of township facilities and operations be included as a budget item for the year of 2021, further to the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. Councilor Colburn, you're chair of that committee. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, and likely Mr. Carson would be better to speak to this than would I, but I would just say that the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan had indicated that we should be looking at a baseline for our energy audit of the township facilities. Pardon me, and we hadn't, my understanding is we had never gotten around to following through with that one particular recommendation of that plan. So the Climate Action Committee sees fit that that be followed through with as it pertains to how energy efficient we deem our municipal facilities to be, and it would be good to have as a baseline to help inform that committee as well as the rest of our probably strategic planning initiatives.
Thank you. Zach, you want to speak to any comments, Zach?
Sorry about that. I have to apologize. I was cutting out a little bit there. So I did miss, I think, some of the more important parts of that. I apologize.
Okay, I just wanted to be, if you need any comment on the motion.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay, thank you. And what this is doing is putting it before council for a budget process to relook at it again. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. If there's no other discussion on the motion before us, all in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Go ahead.
You need a mover and a seconder.
Oh, we do? First time I've ever done this. Sorry. I need someone to move the motion before us. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Bartlett. If there's no discussion on the motion before us, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Moving on for agenda. Our next recommendation is the council hereby supports recommendations number VO 2020-17 that's approved by the Bylaws Joint Board of Management at their meeting on December 11th, 2020, and hereby accepts the RFP submission by GHD Group in the amount of $22,393.35 exclusive of HST, plus the cost from Ontario Clean Water Agency in the amount of $6,800 exclusive of HST, with cost to be split equally between the township of George Boston and the township of Chatsworth. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councillor Colburn. Madam Treasurer, do you want to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you. So to give council a bit of history on this, back in June, I believe, the board directed for an RFP to be issued to basically gather more information on the biodigester facility. So what the purpose of this RFP was was to gain information on the value of the assets we have out there, what it would take to shut the facility down. If you shut it down, what would it take to start the facility back up? Looking at how you could operate the lagoons without running the biodigester facility. So that RFP was issued, the results came back. The tender was not awarded because the costs were quite high. So what was decided then was to try to piggyback off of the feasibility study that Georgian Bluffs is currently doing and paying for the biodigester, and kind of piggyback because there's a lot of duplication of information in both of those studies. So if you have the same company doing the background work for both the feasibility study by Georgian Bluffs and this study, our RFP, then you could save costs. So that is what's being presented here tonight, is to award basically the piggybacking RFP.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. If council read their agenda on in the Bio Board minutes, you'll see that member Mayor Burley voted against this. I strongly recommend that we vote against it because for some reason that it's a cost of $16,000 to Georgian Bluffs, and I don't think that at this time the costs are warranted. I really feel that we should delay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to call a point of order.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone what the Integrity Commissioner told us. The Chair of Council is not supposed to provide an opinion or speak first on an issue. The Chair is to open the issue up for discussion, support Council debates, then following the debate, the Chair is to summarize the discussion. It is inappropriate to use your authority as mayor to influence the council's decision in this way.
Okay, Councilor Bartlett, I'll accept that. I'm going to vacate the chair and turn the meeting over to Deputy Mayor Carlson.
I'm going to respond to it. In this case, I'm going to have a totally opposite opinion to yours, so we may want to move the chair along somewhere else.
Madam Treasurer.
The clerk might have just been about to say this, but you could open the floor first for the councilors' discussion, and then the mayor and deputy mayor can make their comments.
Okay, I can do that. If council does want the motion read again, I will open the floor for discussion. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Councilor Colburn, I think your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did go back to our live stream of that BioGrid meeting, and I did listen to it. I would have to say that it makes perfect sense to include this as an add-on to the feasibility study that's already going to be underway. Adding it on to this particular study saves us money, as our Director of Finance has said. Because some of the information would be duplicated, it makes sense to include it in this study that's already going to be underway. In addition, it's difficult for us to make responsible decisions about the biodigester if we don't have all of the information we need, and that also includes decommissioning either temporarily or permanently. And without that information, I would not be able to make a reasonable decision down the road regarding what to do with the biodigester facility. So I am in favor of adding that on to the study. Thank you.
Any other council member have a comment? Seeing none, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My reason for voting in favor of it is exactly what Councillor Coburn has just said, that even with the feasibility study coming in, if we end up looking for partners to work with us, this other study is going to tell us what the value of the facility is, what the potential going forward, whether we just operate lagoons. We'll have all of that information to be able to make a decision on the biodigester and be able to tell the public, here's our reasons why we did it. Without this additional study, we don't have those values. We don't know what it's worth. So for that reason, I'm totally in favor of going ahead with it. Thank you.
So there's no other discussion on the motion. I'll go ahead and make my comments. I did vote against this, and for the simple reason that George and Bless have paid the full cost of a feasibility study on the biodigester. There's going to be valuable information coming back to this council to base our decisions on. In that study, if the study comes back favorable and shows ways that we can move forward with a biodigester, the mothballing part of this RFP that Chatsworth has presented would not be necessary. I agree that there's 2 items in their RFP that probably should be looked at. One was lagoon, what conditions in, and so on and so forth. That's good information. We should have had that. And what is the value of the sewage lagoon? I just felt that it was premature, that George and Bus may save $16,000 by waiting until our feasibility study comes through. If it comes back on a negative, yes, we should have to proceed with doing this, an RFP for mothballing and so on and so forth at that time. And I really feel that that was the best way of doing it. If we do this feasibility study, if Chatsworth wants to go ahead with it strongly, they should pay the full board of the cost instead of George Bus have to pay half. And I really feel that we should just delay it until after our feasibility study comes in. That's my comments. Any other comments on the motion before us? Deputy Mayor Carlton.
Thank you. If I could just speak again on it. The fact that by doing it piggybacked on our feasibility study, without doing it that way, the cost was $38,000. Part of what they're doing in the feasibility study, they've already hired, Aqua has hired this company to do some pieces of their report. So they're gathering information for 2 different reports, but only doing it once. So we're coming in at a cost of $32,000 instead of the original $38,000 and something. So there's a savings to be had. If we wait and do this study after the feasibility, it's going to cost us more, and it's going to have taken us about 3 to 4 months longer to get it done.
Thank you for your comments, Deputy Mayor. Who had that first? Go ahead, Council Sullivan.
I was just going to ask for a recorded vote if I could.
Certainly. Council Pringle.
Yeah, so to have both processes done at the same time or fairly close to the same time and getting it done to get it, I guess I'm for having to go forward too, just the fact that if we decided not to go with support with Chatsworth and then we decide down the road we want it, we're going to delay this process again. And again, this biodigester, I've been here 2 years now, and it's been the same talk for 2 years, so I kind of believe that we should try and support what they want to do so we can move forward. Again, we want to be the good neighbor and do the right thing. If there's a cost savings to be had, I think we should take advantage of it. I know it's going to cost us to 16, but that's still cheaper than waiting down the road to try and do something with this. I believe the more information we can get sooner the better, and let's make the right decision to move forward.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been asked for.
Okay, so when I call your name, please indicate whether you are for or against the motion as presented. I will start with our virtual participants. Councillor Kathy Norcoburn.
For.
Councillor Carol Bartlett.
For.
Councillor Ryan Thompson.
For.
Councillor Grant Pringle.
For.
Councillor Paul Sutherland.
For.
Deputy Mayor Sue Carlton.
For.
And Mayor Joy Curley.
Opposed?
Thank you, and that carries 6 to 1.
Thank you. Moving off our agenda, we're down to staff reports. The first recommendation is that report OPS 2020-53 be received for information. Someone to move and put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Sutherland, second by Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. Our next recommendation is that report OPS 2020-54 be received for information. Someone to move and put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Pringle, second by Councilor Coburn. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Carlton.
I'd just like to comment that I think this is the first time we've got 100% on these reports, so I think that's really good. Things are working very well in our water system, so I'm pleased with that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. Moving on, our next recommendation is that the Grey Bruce Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is hereby approved, and the Council of the Township of Georgian Bluffs hereby endorses and supports the recommended priorities and actions contained therein, and that bylaw 2020-137 being a bylaw to adopt the Grey Bruce Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan be enacted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlson, second by Councilor Barfoot. Any discussion on the motion before us? No. Seeing none? All in favor of the motion? Is carried. Moving on. Our next recommendation is that the 2020 Emergency Plan Program and appendices therein are hereby approved, and that bylaw 2020-138 being a bylaw to adopt the 2020 emergency program, including an emergency plan, be enacted, and the staff are hereby directed to submit all necessary documents to Emergency Management Ontario prior to year end. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councilor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. Now to our next recommendation. The staff are hereby directed to apply for the Canadian Infrastructure Program COVID-19 Resistant Reliance Infrastructure Stream Grant for the construction of an accessibility path from the Derby Community Center to the Kilsyth Development Playground. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Coburn, second by Councilor Barfoot. Any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. We're down to public question period. Madam Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, we don't.
Thank you. So we know zoning bylaws. We're down to other bylaws. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-134 being a bylaw to appoint members of council and the public to various committees and local boards be read a first, second, third time. Finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed the corporation, endorsing the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Coburn, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Any discussion on the motion before us? See none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. Our next recommendation, that bylaw 2020-137 being a bylaw to adopt the Grey Bruce Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councilor Coburn. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next recommendation, the bylaw 2020-138 being a bylaw to adopt a 2020 emergency management plan and program for the Township of Georgian Bluffs. We read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed to the corporation, endorsing the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Pringle, second by Councilor Barfoot. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Is carried. Our next bylaw is bylaw 2021-39, being a bylaw for the imposition and collection of fees and charges for certain municipal services and activities be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed and sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next bylaw, bylaw 2021-40, being a bylaw to authorize borrowing of money to meet current expenditures of the corporation of the township of Georgian Bluffs, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is carried. Our next bylaw, the bylaw 2021-41, being a bylaw to provide for interim tax levies for the year 2021 for the township of Georgian Bluffs, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed and sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Bartlett, second by Councillor Colburn. Any discussion on the motion before us? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next recommendation, the bylaw 2021-42, being a bylaw to authorize an office cleaning agreement with Service U Clean Limited, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Bartlett, second by Councillor Pringle. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next bylaw, the bylaw 2021-43, being a bylaw to authorize an amending service agreement with Ontario Clean Water Agency, AQUA, for the operations and maintenance of township drinking water systems, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Our next bylaw, bylaw 2021-44, being a bylaw to adopt a recreation and trails master plan for the township of Georgian Bluffs, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Councillor Pringle. Any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Is all in favor of the motion? It's carried. Opposed? It was carried. Our next bylaw, bylaw number 2021-45, being a bylaw to appoint a director of operations and repeal bylaw 2019-134, be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councillor Colburn. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Is carried. Welcome, Steve. We're down to our next bylaw, bylaw 2021-46, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administration officer and repeal bylaw 2020-92. You read the first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw. Someone to move for the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Bartlett. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion before us? Is carried. Welcome, Al. We're down to unfinished business. Hidden driveway sign. Okay, so one motion too. I have a recommendation here, whereas council considered correspondence received from resident Rick West regarding his request for hidden driveway signage at his property on Highway 6 and 21 Sunset Strip. And whereas council acknowledges that the subject roadway is a provincial highway and is therefore under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transportation. Now therefore the Council of Towns of Georgian Bus supports Mr. West's request for hidden driveway sign each at his property on Highway 6 and 10 Sunset Strip, and further respectfully requests that the Ministry of Transportation erect hidden driveway signage at the identified roadway in the interest of public safety, and the staff are hereby directed to circulate copies of this motion to Mr. West and the Ministry of Transportation. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Pringle, second by Councilor Sullivan. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? It's carried. Moving right along our agenda, we're down to new business. Madam Treasurer, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just two pieces of new business. Today, it was announced a second phase of COVID relief funding. Originally, the second phase was going to be 100% application-based, and we did not apply for funding. But again, they've awarded some formula-based funding. So the township is going to receive $64,000 for our COVID relief efforts.
Great.
Okay. Second piece of business is to do with holiday office hours. So we just wanted to inform council that the office is open on every day except for the statutory holidays. We will be operating with kind of a skeleton administration crew, and we would like to close the office at noon on December 24th and December 31st. For those staff that are scheduled to work in the office at that time, they will be using bank time or vacation time to leave the office early that day.
Thank you, Cassie. Any questions of our Madam Clerk? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just a question on the funding. So is this just $64,000 that we have that we don't have to tell them how we're spending it, or just free money?
No, not free money. So we have to use it for COVID related. So if you remember, the last round of funding we received was just over $200,000, and we did things such as buy PPE and put up barriers for customer service, offset revenues lost. We hired an additional facilities attendant to help us with cleaning and to get our facilities back up and running, and for turnover of rentals. So this funding will be used in the same manner. We are still not back up to where we were pre-COVID on revenues for things such as facilities, simply because now with the increased cleaning measures and screening measures, we can't have rentals back to back to back. We've built in gap times to allow for cleaning between turnovers. So I anticipate that some of the funding will be used to offset revenues, but in the new year we'll meet as staff to discuss other COVID-related measures we need to put in place to protect both staff and the public using our facilities.
Okay. No other questions of the Treasurer? Oh, go ahead, Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, sorry, you said on the 24th and the 31st, and then I was just curious, I was just looking at my calendar because Boxing Day is on the 26th. Does that mean that?
So the 28th is the stat.
28th is the stat?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I want to double check that. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Madam Treasurer. So I'm going to Madam Clerk.
Sorry, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to present a motion or suggest that council consider a motion to formalize the closure of the offices on the 24th and the 31st.
Madam Clerk, you don't want to bring it back to those of motion, you want to do it now?
Well, it's December 16th,
Yeah.
so we have
You don't
to.
have another meeting?
So through you, Mr. Chair, if I may read the motion for council's consideration.
Certainly.
That council hereby approves closure of the township administration offices at noon on December 24th, 2020 and December 31st, 2020.
Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlson, second by Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, all in favor of the motion? It's carried. If we know other new business? Seeing none, we are going to now.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilor Bartlett.
Okay, can I ask a question on the Intertownship Fire Board meeting? We went past it so fast I didn't get a chance. On page 4 of their report, I just wonder, it says requirements of the service agreement to be enacted by both participating councils. And then it says, as a result of discussions, staff were directed to open negotiations to continue service between the Intertownship Fire Department and the City of Owen Sound Fire Department. Can you sort of enlarge on that, what all these servicing agreements between both departments and all that is about?
We can, Councilor Bartlett. I'm going to turn it over to Cassie. Let you comment first. Or Madam Clerk.
I just wanted to say that for clarity, Councillor Bartlett is referring to agenda item 9.3.3 as included in the consent agenda.
Okay, so to give council a little bit of background, at our board meeting, Chief Gautreau brought forward a recommendation that we leave a fire truck at the City of Owen Sound so that that Intertownship Fire Department can more efficiently respond to Sydenham calls. So to refresh some memories, with the 10th Street Bridge being out, ITFD in the City of Owen Sound reached an agreement that each fire department would have a truck kept at each respective fire department so that they would more be able to quickly attend calls with the bridge out. So what we're looking to do is kind of to build off that agreement, or what Fire Chief Gautreau is looking to do is kind of build off that agreement and to leave a fire truck at ITFD, or sorry, at City of Owen Sound, because what they have found is when responding to Sydenham calls or calls in Sydenham, there's still a lot of traffic downtown, and it still takes them some time to get downtown and get to the Sydenham area. Through this exercise with the city, they think it's a good practice to remain in place because they have truck drivers who work on the east side of Owen Sound. If they can get down to the truck quicker at the City of Owen Sound Fire Hall, they can respond to Sydenham fires quicker. So the board directed staff to open negotiations with city officials to see if we could leave our fire truck at the City of Owen Sound Fire Hall, continuing past the bridge reopening. Because the board does not have the authority to make that decision, if an agreement can be reached between staff of ITFD and the city, each council, being Georgia Bluffs and Meaford, would both have to pass the agreement. So basically nothing's going to happen until both councils pass the agreement. In the meantime, the board authorized the truck that we currently have there, we being ITFD, to stay there until an agreement can be reached. Did I answer your questions, Councillor Barfoot?
More or less. Thank you very much, Cassie. It's just when I read the minutes there, I thought, okay, what negotiations are going on? I knew about the fire truck exchange and that. So the city has approved it, or?
No, nobody's approved it at this time. Staff are meeting with city representatives later this week to open those discussions, and each council will be reported back to if an agreement can be reached.
I was hoping that was the only negotiations we were talking about. Thank you very much, Cassie.
Okay. If there's no other business, new business here tonight, we'll move on for agenda. We're now going to go into closed session. That the Council of Georgia Bluffs moves into closed session at 6:45.
5:46.
Well, that's better. Picked up an hour. 5:45. with the CEO, treasurer, and clerk to discuss minutes of closed sessions November 25th, 2020, November 23rd, 2020, November 30th, 2020, December 2nd, 2020. Consistent plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiation carried on or before carried on on behalf of municipality of local boards. And Madam Clerk, you had one item to add to this motion.
That's correct. So we will be adding a third item for consideration in closed session regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Thank you. Someone to move the put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Coburn, second by Councillor Bartlett. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion before us is carried. We are now in closed session. Camera to discuss what we've been in camera to discuss, nothing more. Before I read the confirming bylaw, I would like to ask a question. Maybe staff could answer. Trent Jarvis from Wilmot went to County Council, gave a presentation on airports and so on and so forth in the area. I was under the impression that we were trying to have a study done on creating a regional asset, Bruce regional asset. The question I have is that I felt that it would be better if the presentation was given to Bruce County, and I don't understand why it hasn't been done yet, but Bruce County still does not put anything towards this feasibility study since it's a regional thing for both counties. I'm just wondering, where is that at? Like, I understand that Trent is going to give a presentation to Bruce County, but in the motion to pass the county, it was funds are coming from Georgia Plus, RTO 7, and the county, but nothing from Bruce County. And I just wonder, since it's a joint regional thing of Bruce and Great counties, where is that at? Why is the county not wanting Bruce County to get involved right to start first? Betsy?
I think that's a council question. They've taken the lead at procuring and gathering funding for this study. So I think that's a question you'd need to ask Great County.
Georgia Plus are led but offered to your room if it's not us.
Yes, with the study, yes.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Carol, go ahead. You're muted, Carol.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Treasurer, have we received a copy of the study that we contributed to for South Bruce Peninsula? We were supposed to receive a copy of that.
You referring to the hotel feasibility study?
Yes, I am.
I have not received a hard copy, no, but I did receive the link to the study on their website, and I did view it there.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, that was the only question I had. If there's no other business here tonight, I'm going to read the confirming bylaw. Bylaw number 2021-47 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on December 16th, 2020 be read at first, second, Third time, finally passed, signed with the mayor and clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Pringle, second by Councilor Colburn. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion? It's carried. Before I ask for the motion to adjourn, I would like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday, all the best in 2021, and have a very safe, enjoyable holiday. Alone together, I guess is a word, so be safe. A motion to adjourn, please. Move by Councilor Sullivan, second by Councilor Thompson. There's no discussion, all in favor? We are now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.